potato sticks, freaky fries. Get that awesome crunch.
A lovely and beautiful evening. Thank you so much, fellow Zambians, for joining us on tonight's edition of The Oxygen of Democracy. Of course, today we are looking at a special discussion. We are trying to backdate some of the issues that we have witnessed within the ruling Patriotic Front until today. As you may remember, most of you Zambians, in August last year, we saw some PF youths rising against the Secretary General, who was also the Justice Minister, Winter Kavimba. They rose against him, accusing him of all sorts of issues, wanting him being expelled from the party. Despite the numerous protests in the streets of Lusaka, nothing came forward. Not until last week, when President Michael Sata finally nailed it all when he announced that Winter Kavimba has been fired as Justice Minister as well as the party Secretary General. It is in that vein that we thought it wise that we can just bring the people who are behind those mass protests around Lusaka. I'm sure most of you would remember the coffins around wanting to bury their Secretary General. Now that he's been fired, we tried to look at what could suitably suit the situation, and I'm looking at the topic. The topic is the removal of Winter Kavimba the solution to the PF's infighting? Is the removal of Winter Kavimba the solution to the PF's infighting? My guests on the program are the very people who started this protest. Julius Komaki, former PF Lusaka District Vice Chairman. Mr. Komaki, good evening.
Good evening, Bwana Representative, and good evening, my fellow viewers.
I'm glad that you could make it, at least.
Thanks so much.
All right. And of course, sitting on my right is Benjamin Sewila, former PF Lusaka District Vice Secretary, looking very smart, and good evening.
Thank you so very much, and good evening to you, and good evening to the viewers.
All right. Setting the ball rolling, I think, Mr. Komaka, I'll start with you. I would want you to give the Zambian people the background, what led to those mass protests.
Bwana Presenter, thank you very much for asking me such an interesting question. What led to that massive protest is due to mismanagement of the party. The party, there was divided loyalty. One, there are some people who claimed to have, there are some people who thought they can go to the line of the Secretary General. Whatever programs comes forth from the President, you see that they will undermine it. The program that comes from the Secretary General, you see it championing it. So as the youth, we started now wondering, where are we moving? Because as a party, the way we were in the opposition, we used to move as a united front. We used to move in tandem with time, whereby whatever was discussed in the Central Committee, it used to trickle down to the people down there. When I say Central Committee, it's the highest organ of the Patriotic Front, which is being headed by the President. From there, whatever discussions to give the direction to the Patriotic Front has to trickle down from the member of Central Committee to the provinces, from the provinces to the districts, from the districts to the constituencies, from constituencies to the ward, from the ward up to the section level. Now it was so difficult that we were in a dilemma at that particular moment in time. Taking advantage of the situation, me, I was very strategically positioned at town center as a branch chairman. So what used to happen, we used to receive directives from the party through the ward. Now when you ask the ward, they respond to say, we don't have the program for the party. We said, fine, since we have won as a party, the SG used to, the former Secretary General, used to address us when we were in the opposition to give the direction. If there was violence, you will come and calm the situation to say we don't want violence as a party, because we are the alternative government. So we used to follow suit, such that we are being guided. Now it's like the party was left out after we have formed the government, such that when you ask the constituents from the ward, the constituents, they will say they have no program. When you ask the district, they say the district has no program. When you ask the province will say they have got no program. Then we say no, the party which is in power should move in line with the government of the day. Because the government, they are there to give direction to the decisions of the nation. The party is there to give the manifesto of the party, what we have promised the people, we're supposed to tell them. So that why I meant to say the secular was trickling down from, we wanted to move in line with the government policies so that we give checks and balances as a party, because us, we are not in government, we are in the party. We need to check the government to say, are we in line with the party constitution? Are we in line with the party manifesto? Are we moving in the right direction? Are we really doing what we have promised the Zambian people?
In short, you are saying that there was short supply of information between the party hierarchy, starting from the Secretary General to the lower organs. Is that what you're trying to say?
Exactly. This is what was happening. Then what was happening now is like when you are lack of information, even it is biblical. They say my people perish because of lack of knowledge. When you are ignorant about something, you cannot know it, because you know, once you know it, you want to bring it down. What you know, you want to call it names. That's the problem, you see. So such that we said, no, where is the problem? That's why we started before we had trying to make appointments before we go to street, because you know you can't come from your own house and start washing dead linen in public without a massive problem. The problem is that the constitution, our Patriotic Front, it says Article 56 of our party, it says the Secretary General of the party should deal with a day-to-day activities of the party.
Turning to you, I'll get back to you. Turning to you, was he trying to make efforts in ensuring that the party was moving in harmony, was moving as a unity, as a collective party?
It's unfortunate, Chima, looking at where we are coming from and what used to happen. I'll tell you that even as you look at us, and even as the general public out there say the way they are looking at us, we are people who are very normal, and meaning whatever we've been doing has been very, very normal, 100% normal.
Some people think you're abnormal?
Of course, there are some people who are saying you don't know what you're doing and things like that. But truth is slowly and has really come up, has come to catch up with whatever we were doing. The man definitely couldn't give direction, because if you are so selfish, it's very difficult to even understand the advice that is coming from other people. It doesn't matter from which section of society or which people that advice is coming from. As long as it's advice, I think it's very, very important to consider it, whether it will be beneficial to you as a person who is being advised or irrelevant. But what is important is taking up that advice. It doesn't matter from whom it's coming from, because even a mad person can give you an advice. Because if you are filled with pride, you are filled with selfishness, you close up your eyes, you close up your ears, you cannot hear, you can't see. And this is basically what was happening to the the former SG of this party. And as a result of that, he really lost direction. Even as a party which was following him, as the CEO of the party, lost direction in the process. So there was really...
Did you as cadres also lose direction?
Of course. If it's coming up there, definitely you expect everyone, even on the grassroots, to lose direction. Because definitely, if you have a shepherd and you are the sheep, you need to hear the voice of your shepherd. And he was entrusted with that responsibility by the president so that he guides and actually gives direction to the party. So in terms of the growth of the party, as well as its downfall, you cannot differentiate the two. Because the party depended on the CEO of the party, who was the SG himself, the former Winter Kavimba. And as long as he was surrounded by pride, by his own selfish motives, everyone else at that point lost direction, because he was up to just himself. And as a result, because you have a following which is really looking up to you, they lose direction also. What do we see? The slowly downfall of PF as a party. And this is what brought fear in most of us who were looking from the terraces. Because I'll tell you, we are as youth who knows where President Michael Sata started this party from. How much he labored for this party. And as a result of that, we couldn't just sit idle and say, no, because by SGs and untouchable and whatever, we are not people who are easily intimidated like that. We speak our minds. It's up to that person in his same or normal position to either take it up, act upon it by way of humbling himself, okay? So that we move forward. Or he ignores and he thinks we are just street boys, and then he finds himself out of all those positions that he was enjoying, as it is at the moment.
But did you sit down with him before you started the campaigns to go to the streets? Did you sit down with the president? Did you sit down with the SG to say, Vaneo, I think we are moving in the wrong direction. Let's get to this direction. And if so you did, what was the response?
I think advice was coming left, right, and center. Okay? As long as there was a problem, definitely noise was there, advice was given, people were speaking from the streets up there. Of course, even the MPs, the ministers would advise him, even as a friend, as a comrade, as a colleague, or whatever he is at whichever level of relationship. I believe we used to hear these signs. Okay, he used to hear advice. Definitely, you cannot say every one of us hated him to that extent. There is no personal hatred here. Okay, because he's just a human being bound to errors. But with all that love, you tend to advise someone to say, look, the direction we are taking, even himself, I believe we could see that, well, this is wrong, whatever I'm doing, because your conscience will always tell you that what you're doing is wrong, unless you choose to ignore it. Okay, as a human being, I believe God has put in us an element where you can actually differentiate between the wrong and the good. And he knew to say, whatever I'm doing, because he was doing all those cards to suit himself, because he had an ambition, definitely, even something that he saw was wrong, as long as it benefited him, to him it was right. The Bible says, whatever a man does in his eyes, in his mind, as long as it suits him, it is right. So no matter how you tell them, I believe that signs were enough. Okay? Even the president, I believe, to a large extent, he saw to say there was a problem here. And I believe because the president is one person who would leave you with those responsibilities that he has given you, he has enough trust in you as a person in his leadership to say you do what is best for the country, what is best for PF. Okay? Now, the moment you lose, definitely the president will come in and say, look, I don't think here things are okay. But because someone chose to be so stubborn, to an extent where he even overlook his master, who is our president, definitely whoever would bring advice was treated as a fool, was treated as someone who was just like, you don't know what you are doing. And that is a very unfortunate thing in a man's life. To begin thinking that you are above everyone. I think that is very, very dangerous. And I think this is what has led to where he is now.
All right. Mr. Komaki, August last year to now, I think it's a year. We've clocked a year since the time you started these protests. Did you at some point lose hope that the president was not going to act? Because I remember very well when you protested at State House, and I remember the same day the Central Committee was sitting, and we're expecting to hear the verdict after that protest. And the verdict was that 98% of the Central Committee voted against Winter Kawemba continuing as SG, but alas, that never came to pass. So from that background, did you at some point lose hope that Winter Kawemba was going to be fired?
My brother, when you are going for the war, you can't count the consequences of the challenges you are going to face. Once upon you are in a hole, you need to calculate the length of the hole. Are you prepared to go for that hole? If we are not prepared, or we are not optimistic that whatever we are doing, it will come to pass, why should we indulge ourselves going to the street? We had confidence that once we cry, our Father, His Excellence, Mr. Michael Chilusha Sata, is going to listen to us. The problem is that the man, it was difficult to see than the president himself. It was easier to see the president than the Secretary General. So how do you expect...
Why was it so?
In any governance, in any organizations, like as my brother in his preamble has alluded to, he said he was the CEO of the party, chief executive officer of an organizations. So whenever that noise wouldn't have emanated into the street, he would have quenched the fire outrightly there before we go to street. But the man was nowhere to be seen. Once you go there, you find only assistants in the offices. Then for you to reach him, they will tell you, you go there and you see him, you seek permission, an audience with him. He will tell you, can you go and see my assistants? Then I said, no, we never employed you, or you never put you as the SG to see the assistants. There are some very sensitive issues which needs urgent attentions by the SG himself. Because for one, Julius Comac, what I believe in, I believe in to say the SG was the conveyor belt between the grassroots and the Central Committee. So what used to happen, this conveyor belt was being cut off. It's like the information at the grassroots was not going. We have learned a lot of lessons from our previous government, the MMD, which we have dislodged it. The previous mistakes which we have notified is the ruthless regime of William Banda. So after we saw William Banda, he has really costed this party, the MMD. Whatever they were doing, it was tarnishing the name of the MMD. So same applies to our former CEO of the party. He was arrogant. He can abuse his authority. He can throw his weight everywhere. He can intimidate everyone. He was not welcoming, you see, such that it was difficult for you to come out open. Like you, my brother, if you can't give me the reception, can I be here? You have welcomed me outrightly. That's why I'm here to tell you something about what transpired in the party. But if you can't give me that audience, I wouldn't have been here, my brother. Yes.
You mentioned one thing. I'll get back to you. You mentioned one thing, that he had an agenda. maybe Zambians would want to know what type of an agenda was that?
Winter had a very, very serious agenda. And that agenda is an agenda that, to a large extent, brought a lot of divisions in the party. The agenda, of course, everyone knows about the agenda. The agenda was his ambition to take over leadership. And to be specific, probably he had ambitions, presidential ambitions. Okay? Now, those presidential ambitions were not really wrong per se. But I think for me, it's the way he started doing things, which had a very, it had a cost, or rather, it was going to cost PF as a party to be disorganized. I'll tell you, for instance, he managed to put some of the leadership, okay, on provincial level, district level, in some areas. Those people that he managed to push there, okay, by way of appointments, were strategically put there in order for him to say, if we were to go for a convention, for instance, those people, because you need some kind of electoral college, people who would vote in, okay, for a presidential party, party president. So to him, he was positioning, it was a very big agenda, whereby some people couldn't see it, okay? But I believe the people that he was appointing in those key positions was that he wanted to get that support from them, so that even if time came for him, for instance, to declare his ambitions or to contest at the convention on the position of party president, definitely because he was going to put in those numbers in terms of leadership all over the country, he was going to beat the president outright. No doubt about that. Okay? Now, that was very, very serious. So we took note of that, because the people that he was putting in those key positions, in those key leadership positions in terms of provincial or district or whatever, they were people that you could see that their loyalty was direct to him and not the president. And we had a problem with that, because this party, as I've already said, the president worked so hard, and we could not allow a situation where loyalty is divided. Another person within PF starts getting more glory than the president who labored for it. So we quickly took note of that. For instance, I'll tell you, in Chipata, when we're doing a by-election for Lamek Mangani, by then I was there, that was somewhere in June, July. I'll tell you that while we were doing those campaigns, I was on the ground myself by then. I was on the ground, I was in the campaign team. Believe me, within our camps, as PF members, there was another camp which, if we go around campaigning, dishing or giving people chitenges and whatever, there was another group which could go during the night, giving people chitenges and telling them to say, look, our candidate is only coming in 2016, not this one. Or because Winter had issues with Mangani. And besides, he wanted someone who would be more loyal to him and support his agenda to becoming president of PF. So as long as you were not in good terms with him, he would fight you left, right, and center. And at the end of the day, we ended up losing that seat to Mutoro Piri. Okay? Because people now were confused to say, how come within their camp, others are saying this message and that. And if you look at that group which was doing that, they were for Winter. And those are the people who are now in Chipata, like the likes of Mwamba as provincial chairman there. Those are some of the puppets I can mention who were carrying out some of these hidden agendas. And so, when you look at that, my brother, it wasn't PF. It wasn't Mangani who lost that seat. It was PF. It was the president who labored for PF. And if you can sit down and relax and just say, no, this is okay, then you don't know why you are in PF and you don't know what you're supposed to do. And these are some of the things which are so hurting that we had to do what we can just to have him removed.
But if you say that Winter was trying to create structures within the PF. Didn't the president take note of that himself? And if he did, why did it take so long for him to act now?
I'll tell you, the president has got a heart. I think for me, I have so much respect for the president. He has got a heart. He's got so much tolerance for certain people. And he gives them such a grace that maybe at some point, they'll come to a point of realization. They'll come back to their senses and say, what I'm doing is wrong, and probably change. And this is the reason why the president had to leave it up to this time. All this was in the spirit of love, because he didn't want to lose any of us. So he gave him enough rope to hang himself. I believe that that patience didn't mean that the president could not take action. Okay? But it just meant that this man will have a moment of reflection to see and hear what is going around and the damage that he has caused, and probably come back to his senses and say, I think to hell with this, it's time to do the right thing. But as usual, when there's too much pride in you, there's too much stubbornness, your ears tend to, maybe you can't hear, okay? And your eyes can't see, and so is your downfall. So it's not really in the interest of even the president himself to do what he has done. But I believe that because he has to save the party, he has to save the general membership, to hear to their cries. He has a bigger responsibility to perform to the expectations of the many Zambians that voted this PF into power. He had to make a decision.
All right. Your protests were indeed, most of us who saw them, they were massive.
Yes.
That's how we can describe them.
Yes.
You know, and organizing such a massive thing is not an easy undertaking.
Yes.
This is why most people say probably there are some big funders to those protests. Did you at some point or up to now, are there any people within your camp who are funding your activities, funding your protests? Because we hear there are two camps. To be specific, the GBM camp, we hear there is a Winter Kabimba camp. And even as you answer that, are there camps in the PF? But let's start with the fund issue.
Okay. Bwana Muchima, you know, it's like when you have a child at your own house, is thirsty, he needs water. The child is hungry, he needs food. When the child starts crying, are you saying he has been beaten by the neighbor or he is hungry? What prompted to that massive organizations is for one simple reason. I've earlier mentioned in my preamble to say we used to get informations from our people. They were not giving us direction. These people from constituencies, wards, branches, they used now to come. Then they are bringing similar problems. They are talking about the direction. Who's supposed to guide the party? It's the CEO of the party, because he's the owner, is the engine of the party. Now, that massive revolution which was coming, because those are the people who loves the president most, because you know this is a pro-poor government, because our party manifesto says lower taxes, more money, more jobs. You know, if the president is not a man for the people, he has no heart for the people. Up to now, we cannot even have people in the streets. Why are they there? Because those are our own investments. Because foreigners have occupied the lands, and the Zambians, they have nowhere to sell. So what do you expect if you run in the corridors of the streets of Cairo? You see a lot of people. But those people, they have got another challenges, because they have seen the problem which is there. We used to call them our brothers here. After bringing the problems to us, we had no solution. So we said, let us cry. When we cry, at least maybe our cry, one day we believe that it will be heard. And it has been heard. Why? Because we are the common factor. The youth, they are so much expectant. The youth, they were so much expectant. You know, Bonamchima, it's not an easy thing for a youth to work from day-to-day activities of the party for 10 years. You are waiting, you are expectant. Even if a woman is pregnant, sorry, I'm not offending the women.
Sure.
When she's pregnant, she will be expectant for a child for after 9 months. If 9 months erupts, that woman will start getting worried. Let me go for checkups. So these are some of the checkups which we have been seeing. You know, even the issue of appointment was not well addressed to, because they never tackled people whom we know that these people really suffered for the party. There are no people whom we can say at least that one. Because if they start choosing like province by province, district by district, constituents by constituencies, it will give patience to many Zambians to say, okay, since they have got a solution. And since I said my people perish because of lack of information, there was no flow of information.
So in short, everybody was expecting a job after the victory.
Yes. You know,
and is it possible to give everyone jobs?
I'm telling you this, it's not possible. That's why some they are in the party up to now. Am I in employment? I'm not in government. I'm in the party and I'm proud. Why? Because I'm able now. When we were in the opposition, we used to give checks and balances to the government, which was in power by then, the MMT. But now that we are in the party, we left with the party with no government. So we need to give checks and balances to the government through us as a party which is there. Because we live in the society where a lot of people, that's where they live in. Because we used to go flat out, campaign to the same people. Now, when these people rise to say, these people, why are they fighting like that without known reasons? What the typical examples which we have, for example, when people they are saying we are for the GBM or what? No. Funders are not there. Up to now, I can challenge everyone to come and open to tell us how much they gave us in order for us to demonstrate. It was just our common knowledge. I can ask you a simple questions. When we were in the opposition for 10 years and we were campaigning, who was funding us for us to move in and fight the government? It is because we have interest of the nation at heart. We can't allow, party is bigger than an individual. Whatever you do is a challenge to each and every leader, not only for Winter Kavimba. Whichever office you are in, just know that you are representing 14 million Zambian people, regardless of your small office which you are in. You need to take that onus on your head to say you are representing people. You see?
All right. In the best interest of time, don't worry, I'll be getting back to you also. Do we have camps within the PF?
The camps, we had camps, I can agree and attest to that fact.
Thank you.
Why I said there was camps, there are some...
There were or they are?
They were camps. They were camps. One for the SG and the other one who are supporting the president. Those who are supporting the SG, they will do sit, they will have even been empowered in terms of contracts, but for those who are supporting the president, they are still suffering as I'm speaking now.
I'm wondering, Mr. Komaki, because some of those, why people say that there were camps within the PF, is because sometimes the protest became bloody. You nearly lost your life yourself. And that was not UPND fighting PF, NAREP fighting PF, or MMD fighting PF. It was PF against PF with machetes.
My brother, when we were registering our displeasure over our former Secretary General and our former Minister of Justice, we never used any weapon to register our displeasure. We were walking peace-free. Not even any incident where you saw we have damaged this, apart from the saga of North Mid, where we used our self-defense. They wanted to attack us, but we are to use our self-defense. You know where the elephant meets.
Who wanted to attack you?
I'll come to that point. You are talking about the camps. This camp, you are dared of to say, Aleisa, Aleisa. There was that slogan which was very strongly securing Aleisa, Aleisa. So we started wondering, because we are the youth. In Bemba we say, Abekara Mwisamba mpundu, ewo mfwa mpundu oko shipona. You see? What do I mean? I said, those people who sit under the tree, they will know when the fruits are falling and when they are not. So now we started wondering, these guys who are closer to the SG, they started now bragging, boasting, our man is coming, our man is coming. Then we say, who is this man coming? Then we had, in politics, there are so many strategies. One, we had a strategy called the endorsement. We started that endorsement. It's not that we are ignorant about it. It's not that we didn't know that the president is mandated and is constitutionally allowed to be in power for two terms. We started that deliberately just to expose our enemies. Are they in support of the president or they are not in support of the president? Coming to your question, why you are saying there's GBM camp and the Winter Kavimba camp. We, as youth, GBM had no camp in PF. But he came out so strong to say, I'm also endorsing the president in his right, in his constituencies in Kasama. That's why we say, okay, that man, we are speaking the same language because we are checking. How Chumbwe came in, sorry to mention this, how Chumbwe came in to condemn GBM, who was endorsing the president. That annoys us as PF to say we are not in the same team.
And Chumbwe, that's your provincial chairman.
He is our provincial chairman. That's why we are saying there is divisions. Because he came in the party through the efforts of Winter, because his people were put in strategic positions so that when we go to conventions, he can have people who can support us. So it's like administratively, he had achieved what he wanted, to put people in strategic positions. Now, where the problem is to reach the people down there. That's where he had to receive the resistance. Because the direction which he wanted to give us, that's how we had to rise now in the name of Akawawawa. You know? When
that's
we
a
say,
common phrase.
Yeah. We say Akawawawa because when it comes, even if they follow me, I'm not in support of the president. Then when just say Akawawawa, my brother, I need even to change my home. Because
I don't even know what Akawawawa means.
Akawawawa means it's a massive revolution which we have embarked on to make sure that whatever we are doing is done. And whatever we are doing as youth, we should move in one accord.
Let me try to command the slogan here. Akawawawa. Exciting indeed.
Just to add on what Comac has said in terms of funders, our funders, if they were any, I'll tell you, just like what my brother has said, I think what used to provoke us was the direction in which the party was going, as I've said already. I think that was enough provocation to make us do what we're doing, the streets, the what, everything. Okay, the demos. There was no one minister or MP in PF who would even be part of that, or who at any point released even a 1 kwacha to fund that, because they knew to say, like Benach Kwerete, you remember the issue of Benach Kwerete where he went around and said, no, these are the people that were funding us. I think for us, if you saw the consistency, me, Comac, and all the youth that we've been working with, Abena Axon, the likes of Abena Axon, and even the other constituents chairmen, who joined in because they believed in what we're doing. There wasn't anyone, any minister, I should make mention of this, and this is why we have achieved this, because if we're motivated by cash, definitely there would have been fight amongst ourselves to say, But what used to motivate us was just the unity within the party and just seeing that what the president had started must go a long way, okay, must survive, must stand the test of time. Okay, there was no minister at all. That's why even when GBM actually decided to leave his position, the Akawawa continued. Okay, they connected us to Lubinda. I mean, Lubinda hasn't been in the picture because the Kawawa has always stood the test. I mean, has always been there doing our thing. So they connected us to a lot of these other people. But believe me, none of those people were directly or indirectly connected to us as youth. I think it was the fact that the things that were going on in PF were enough to even fund us. Okay, just that confusion was the motivation, was the funding that made us succeed in this. So there was literally no one funding us.
Yes. Okay, viewers out there, they are also itching to contribute and participate on this program. But before we do that, Director, I think let me tackle the issue now, which brought us here.
Exactly.
And that's is the removal of Winter Kabimba the solution to the PF's infighting? Let me begin it with you. Do you think his removal will bring harmony and unity within your party?
Chima, PF was founded on certain principles, okay, hard work, commitment, okay. There was just a good spirit surrounding PF. There was unity, and I believe even when the president was starting this, believe me, the president didn't have enough money to sustain PF. But what the president believed in was the unity, the love that he showed to the people, the hard work, okay. Based on that, I think this is what even the Zambian people supported, because they knew to say he had a vision for this country. That's what brought about the unity. Okay? Now, if you talk about what was the question?
The removal of Winter Kabimba.
Exactly.
Is it going to bring unity? Because we've seen a lot of divisions. Now, is that the end of these divisions, the infighting, the hacking one another?
Of course. If you look at the confusions that surrounded the party, the hacking of Vena Komaki, okay, the losing of that life, Yakwasimwela, or that there was some funding somewhere which was specifically pumped in to disturb the party. Like I said earlier, to say it's because one person had an agenda. He had selfish ambitions or motives to say I should take over. And as a result of that, he caused or he stepped on so many people's toes, including his fellow ministers at that time, the people that he frustrated. Some of them, in the process, even lost jobs. Because whoever he thought was a threat to him, he made sure that he fought him. He said all sorts of rubbish against him, maybe to the president. And believe me, because maybe the president had so much trust in him, somehow the president could make certain decisions. Okay? Now, that brought a lot of confusion. And even as we have already explained, to say the lack of communication between the top ranking or the top leadership and the grassroots, or because someone wanted loyalty. So as long as you belong to his group, then you were safe. If you were not to his, if you were not part of his group, then you were treated as an enemy. So believe me, the two cannot move together unless they agree.
Unless they agree indeed.
Yes. So,
all right.
Definitely that had a lot of negative effect on PF, and his removal, in short, just to answer your question, his removal, because he was working with very united people, but unfortunately came in just to destroy, so that he takes over leadership. Now his removal means a relief to us. It's like a pharaoh that puts people under pressure, that makes people really suffer. The moment Pharaoh is sorted out, the people reconcile, the people, love comes in, unity is seen. And believe me, you, even 2016, could get Tabakamba, because there will be unity. There is unity, should I say. Just one person, it's like umuntu aliyembarara 10. The moment you eat one groundnut, it doesn't matter how many you've taken. Kunumo, you believe me, it will spoil the whole taste in the mouth. So only one person caused this confusion, whether people like it or not. We are in PF and we know what was happening in PF. So he's the one who was causing even the story of Jonah in the Bible. The moment he said, throw me on the waters, then the peace will prevail. The storm had to come because only one person was a confusionist. And in this party, only one person was a confusionist. And this is Winter. So the moment he's thrown out of the boat, PF will stabilize. The storms will come down and we'll move forward. We'll win.
All right. Before we start getting the phone calls, you want to add on to that? Do we see unity coming through in the PF?
My brother, you're absolutely right in the sense that unity is there. Why? Because we as youth now, we are appealing now to our new Secretary General who has come, so that now we can work in one accord, so that the direction will be one. There will be no camp. We will just say our loyalty is for the president.
Exactly.
It has really costed us as PF, which is in a pattern government. We have performed so badly in the by-election. You know, it feels pain when, as a party in government, we lose a by-election such as Katuba, which is few miles away from the capital city. How would you feel? Why? Because when we go there, we are not going there as a united front. You can't fall. You say, divide. When you are divided, you fall. When you are united, you stand. So we are appealing now to be solidified, to be united, so that now we can go in a right direction, just to sing one song. That song should be President Michael Chilufya Sata. Not until they come to tell us to say, my youth, now I'm now hanging up my groves. Now follow this direction.
My
That's the direction we'll follow.
All right.
Yes.
Maybe in this state, how did you receive the information of the firing of Mr. Winter Kavimba?
My brother,
very quickly, so that now we start getting the phone calls.
That information, when it received, for me, I was in Zambezi for the Gumbiliamizi. I had stopped everything, whatever I was doing. People from there, in the remotest area as far as Zambezi, they started dancing near the banks of water to say Winter Kavimba has been fired. Little did I know that they are celebrating for the removal of Winter Kavimba. I thought they are dancing just because of the Likumbili. But when I tried to ask, because the language was so difficult for me to understand, but they had to interpret to say why we are rejoicing like this, the Secretary General has gone. So which means why we are doing this, it has bring a relief. You can even know the celebration which has been going around the country to say it is good now. It is the rebirth of the party now, Patriotic Front. The same support which you have seen, that was the support which we received when His Excellency Mr. Michael Chilufya Sata was elected as a president.
I can see a smile on your face.
Let me tell you this again. Why? If Winter Kavimba was doing the right things at the right time, the same group which you have seen celebrating would have been the same group now piling pressure on the president. Why have you taken our man? That is our man. Now it's like now opposite. So it's like now we are relieved just because now we need to give enough time for our new SG so that he give us a new strategy.
Believe me, those jubilations, the joy that you saw, I think media has done enough coverage countrywide, because that wasn't just in Lusaka. Which minister, you tell me, you are the journalist, which minister, which MP, after being fired, I think the president has fired a number of them, which one of them has actually gone through what Winter is going through? Or maybe made the country to celebrate in such a manner? I think that is an enough sign to say Uyu Muntu was a wrong chap, or he had done enough harm to the people. So that celebration was actually signaling to the president to say you've taken the right decision. And for that's why we are really appreciating the president for the decision taken, because we know that even the signs that that we're seeing, people celebrating everywhere, like the way we celebrated in 2011's victory of PF, I think we had a similar story. That should be enough sign. Whoever you should see that, well, this is it. Things have happened. It actually marked the rebirth of PF, meaning that whatever we had not done correctly, Kunmo, because of one person, this time around we are promising the people of Zambia, we are promising the general membership of PF, who have been hardworking, who were frustrated by this person because of his kind of leadership style. There are a lot who were really frustrated. I think you are all welcome. New members, old members, please join us.
You're now campaigning on my program. But Director, let's recap on some of those celebrations. I know Zambians really want to participate on the show, but let me conclude this discussion by first seeing some of the celebrations that went on in Lusaka. Then we'll be getting the phone calls. Celebrations following the dismissal of PF Secretary General and Justice Minister Winter Kavimba have continued across the country. In Lusaka, business came to a standstill as troops of PF cadres marched through Lusaka district to express their joy. The cadres started their march past from their district office and converged at the intercity bus terminus. Later, the team marched through Church Road and connected into Bujimfum Road and gathered at the post newspapers denouncing the company. Realizing the situation could turn sour, some officers within the company premises started firing gunshots to scare the cadres. After their short demonstration at the post newspapers, the cadres marched through Joseph Muller Road, then joined Independence Avenue and made their final stopover at the Freedom Statue. This could be likened to the PF's victory in 2011, but this is not the case. All these people are celebrating the firing of Winter Kavimba as the party Secretary General. A prayer was then given before end speeches. Former Lusaka Province PF Chairman Davis Chama, in addressing the cadres, said the firing of Mr. Winter Kavimba comes as a relief to all party members amid applauses and cheers.
The Lusaka Province today fully support His Excellency President Michael Chilufya-Sata's decision to fire former PF Secretary General and Minister of Justice Winter Kavimba. This decision is long overdue, but comes as a great relief to PF. Who have suffered due to Winter's arrogance and divisive leadership. Yes. We also support a newly appointed Secretary General of PF, Honorable Edgar Lungu, the party in readiness for the 26th elections. For a long time, PF was at the task as a dead and dysfunctional secretariat, which has been used to only promote the political ambition of one person instead of supporting the President Sata. The mock coffin was later set ablaze as a symbol of putting the embattled senior PF official to rest. Father, in the name of Jesus. Father, in the name of Jesus. spirit. May his soul rest in hell, not in peace. He must go to hell. And if he has got money, he must travel and go out of the country.
It is surprising how people have celebrated the firing of Winter Kabimba as Secretary General of the party as well as Justice Minister. Could this be the extent of how Winter Kabimba is hated? What next after his firing? Kalan Chima reporting for Prime TV News in Lusaka. Well, those are some of the celebrations that went on in Lusaka. Let's try to see if we can get some some phone calls out there. Do we have any phone calls, Director? Good evening. Good evening, thank you. Pomwa Mbachilufia, yes, I kindly speak up.
Yes, from Kanyama constituency.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm saluting Mr. Komaki. Keep his spirit. Yes, that we are fighting for it. Let's maintain peace and order in our party. Because we want peace and order in our party. So everyone supposed to enjoy the freedom that we have suffered for a long time. Yes, we are going around it supporting our president, our party. We have suffered within in and out. Yes, I'm saluting Komaki. Very well.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Let's get some more calls. Good evening. Hello? Hello, good evening. Hello?
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. You're through the program.
Yes. Hello?
I can get you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm calling from Kanyama.
Yes, sir. Though I didn't get your name, but you can go ahead.
I just want to find out from the two gentlemen there. Why is it that they were moving with pangas?
Okay.
When addressing their problems.
Okay. Is that so, sir?
And secondly, what unity are they promising the party of PF? Because they were suspended. I don't know if they were expelled, both of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, let's get some more calls.
Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. You are through the program.
Hello.
I can get you, sir. I can get you. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir. I can get you.
Hello.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. I think we can't communicate. But just go ahead. If you are unable to get us, we are able to get you. Just put up your comments. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello. Good evening, sir. Your name?
Reverend coming.
Hello.
I'm getting you, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, sure, sir. Go ahead. Mkwai.
Barianda pepavu wakwa wintakabini. Nitawadilanja pona vasumesi wa chitireko. Because wintakabimba has been with fear from the start. I'm not supporting Winter Kabimba, but therefore our gentlemen are always getting up. But I need to go to the winter. Without passing of a judgment passively. No. We need unity in our country and not division. You are the same people bring division. You are being one-sided.
Okay, but I didn't get your name though. Good evening. Hello.
Hello?
Good evening, sir. Your name?
Hello?
I can get you, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Chandanyela.
Yes, Mr. Nyela.
Yes. I can just salute the two gentlemen here with in that studio. I'm one of the guys who were actually advocating for the removal of disgruntled Secretary General of our party PF. And I salute Julius Komaki because I actually helped him to save his life, as well as helped him to save the party PF. And for those that are saying no, they have to also appreciate Winter Kavimba when it comes to do things that he did best for the party. Winter Kavimba came very late in our party. So that man is lost. He doesn't even understand when Winter Kavimba came to join PF. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neil there. I think let's hold on and respond to some of these queries that have come through. I don't know who takes it first, but the first issue is, why were you moving with pangas and hacking one another? And what unit are you promising? Because most of you were suspended or expelled from the party. I think you can also highlight some of those issues. I don't know if anyone can take it up.
Okay. First and foremost, I would like to salute and recommend my brother indeed and my comrade, Mr. Paul Mwamba Chilufya, that is also listening. He has been talking about peace and order in the party. I can tell you that those people whom we have seen, they have got order. They have got order. All what was lacking was direction. If the direction comes in from the new SG, who move in the right direction. Then two, just to answer this question which has been framed to say, why were we moving with pangas? If I might ask you that question, if that massive group which I lead, they were all with pangas, totally it is going to be a different story. It would have been a genocide by now. But as we were demonstrating peacefully just to register our displeasure. It's them who came to attack. That's why I was asked. If I was armed as well with pangas, I would have done something, because I would have used, even defended myself using the same panga. I would have chopped some of other people's heads. This time I wouldn't have been here, and I would have been jailed by now. But here I am. You see, those people were hired, and they were given targets because we were outspoken, because we were bringing out the mistakes which he was making. If truly he was a leader, he would have called upon us and we sit down. Gentlemen, where am I making wrong? Because a leader should lead by good examples. Then he would have been there to sit down. But he was a boss. A boss dictates. That's why it is very difficult. Then again, to say, why are we not talking about the good things which he has done? Definitely, you know, he has done what he could in his own leadership. When he was the Secretary General, I explained that when we were in the opposition, the information used to flow, he used to guide us, he used to tell us which way to move forward. You know, that is a sign of appreciation. Why we have raised, because he was failing to give us direction the way he was doing it in the opposition. And saying this, my brother, to say, we have been expelled. My brother, if you follow the constitution has guidelines. You need to reprimand. You own, then you suspend. Then you expel. And the only thing which expels is the member of Central Committee. That's what the Constitution stipulates. No individual can expel. He had to put the weights in the mouths of the president. That closed door meeting which we had no media. in that meeting? How did that information
We had a
filter?
meeting with who?
When the president called us, you know, when we last had the press briefing, where we are demanded to say Mr. Winter Kavimba should step down for misleading the president, to take him to the court while the president has immunity. Where is the Solicitor General? Where is the Attorney General? And where is the Minister of Justice to represent? That's why it angered us mostly as youth to say, no, we shouldn't do this. Why was he parading the president over the issue of DBZ? If you have taken that money, can you just pay that money off? There are so many eminent businessmen and women which we have seen in this nation.
Mr. Komaki, I know there are a lot of other issues which will be arising from that. You want to respond to some, or maybe has answered everything?
Yes,
we get another say so that you respond also.
We were not expelled in the first place. I think this must be put clearly here. When the president called us, yes, he didn't expel us. It was just a discussion, probably as regards to the operations or the way the party was actually being run. Okay, and there were a few questions which were asked, and I think even issues concerning the same former SG, which we brought out. If everyone has to know this, okay, we openly told the president that the person who was misleading the party was Winter in his face. And that to some extent angered him, because we told the president the truth. Okay? And
Winter
2 days
was also
later,
in the same meeting?
Yes, the Winter was there when the president called us. There was Winter, there was the vice president, Guy Scott, there was Inonge Winner, and these others. Okay? And we told him, when the president asked, why are you having problems with Winter? We told him to say, in fact, I told him to say, the problem is Winter. He's misleading the people. He has divided the party, okay, the people in the party, by way of wanting others to be more loyal to him than you as the president. And that's when Comac also asked the president to say, have you anointed Winter? Tell us, so that we have direction, we have one voice, we have one to support. And the president refused. He said, I haven't anointed anyone to take over from me. And this to some extent because we challenged him right in the presence of the president, that he got annoyed. 2 days later, as usual, his Post and Fred Membe published a headline to say the president has expelled Comac and Siwira. The president didn't expel us. That's why I also went to the media and cleared the air to some extent, because that was all misleading. Why would the entire president just come down and drop us? Who are we? Okay? It was very unfair, very misleading. Or because someone Chumbumu Nshororo in the name of Winter who cannot be advised. So we were not expelled, boss.
Okay, I think let's get some more responses. Let's get some more calls. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, thank you, sir. Your name?
This is Victor Chansa calling from Chawama.
Mr.
Chansa calling from Chawama.
Yes, Mr. Chansa.
Yes, please. Komati and Suina, you are very much commended. And one of those people who are advocating for Winter to go out and create security. I would say they should die. And Winter should die for praying and celebrating that the president is dead.
Sure.
Including those celebrating in Chawama. Please, our heads were on the prisoners. The president of this Republican has said, thank you very much for God to answer our prayers.
Right.
So I can't continue with fighting. We are behind you, together. Please, this country is peaceful. Those guys were bringing chaos in discussion. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to shake our president. I can't wait to congratulate you.
You've already congratulated them here. All right.
I'm so excited. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We can feel your excitement.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, sir. Derek, let's get some more calls. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
This is Mr. Musanje calling you within Lusaka.
Yes, Mr. Musanje.
Yes. I have two questions for those two gentlemen there.
Mm-hmm.
The first question is that, yes, of course, Winter Kavimba, he did all those wrongs. We agree that. He's a man who is very arrogant. We understand that. Now, my question is, since Winter Kavimba is fired, because as Zambians, we are too anxious of the constitution. Now, are you going to give us the constitution? And then are you going to deliver the promises which you promised the Zambian people? Because you have been accusing Winter Kavimba everything, that is the one who has been disturbing the party. Now that you have put Eddie Karungu, whom you consider that he's the right person, now we want you to deliver, and can you tell us if you are going to deliver the people-driven constitution? Then the other thing is, do you have disciplinary committee in PF? What did you do? What step did you make for you to fire Kavimba? Have you ever sat down with Kavimba, with the disciplinary committee, and disciplined Kavimba if he was in discipline? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Musanje. Let's get some more calls. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, sir. Speak up, your name and where you're calling us from.
Yes, my name is Mumba, calling from Zambia West.
Yes, Mr. Mumba.
Yes, in the first place, I would like to find out from the two gentlemen sitting there why they are just talking about the negative side of Winter Kavimba. I believe that they should have started by, talking about his successes, then look at the weaknesses rather than just trying to criticize someone. I believe also that Winter Kavimba was very instrumental. But it's true, he made a lot of mistakes. Now, what is important is to talk about the positive side. Then you look at the negative rather than just criticizing like that. Because by virtue of being human, they have also, weaknesses. So let them first talk about the positive side, then look at the negative side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. One last call in this set, then we get to the discussion. Good evening. Hello.
Good evening, Kalan.
Good evening. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Comrade Komaki, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
And good evening, the other comrade.
Good evening, then.
This is Jonathan Mumani II. I'm calling you from Kanyama. I'm very happy to see you, Komaki, and I like your hair.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, it has been long.
Thank you so much.
Komaki and the other comrade, it's time now we pull up our socks as young people in PF. And the thing that winter now is down, from there we shouldn't concentrate now on winter. It's time to move on as a party and to make sure that we bring sanity in the party. Whatever was happening with the squabbles, even the fights that almost costed your life, Komaki, should come to an end. We have learned lessons, bitter ones, the hard way. And this time around, we have to know what should develop us. We understand that we are there as a party to develop the country, to deliver, to help the leaders, to help the president, to defend the president, to support the president, and those who are well-meaning to develop this country together. We don't need any more squabbles. We don't need any more separatism. We need everybody now to move on as a country. And despite that, comrades, there are some people today who are still tarnishing the name of the party by not delivering and working hard, even amongst the MOP. So let's look around and find out. And when we call for introspection inside ourselves, that shouldn't be considered as rebellism. When we balance and we check and balance ourselves from the party, that shouldn't be considered rebellism. We need leadership that is going to understand the need why we, exist in the country. I can see you, Kalan, you are waving your hands.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much, Director. So I know there's so many people that want to call and participate, but we need to be responding to this before we forget about some of them. So I'll go with you first, because in the other set, Mr. Komaki went first. So you need to respond to some of this.
Of course.
Let's start from the Constitution.
The issues of constitution, of course, they are critical. The issue of constitution. I know a lot of issues have been raised, a lot of concerns. I believe that, like I said, the removal of winter once again must bring about a change. Okay, even the way certain issues like the issue of constitution will be dealt with this time around, I believe that the people that are entrusted to deal with the issue of the constitution will definitely take it up, like the president picked upon Honorable Edgar Lungu as the new Minister of Justice, and today I think he was even meeting some people with regards to the same issue. So for us, I think even on this fora, we'll leave it to the new boss, who is Minister of Justice, Edgar Lungu, to consider the views and what people expect of him after taking over the mantle from Winter Kavimba. And we believe that because we've got a listening president, because we've got a new Minister of Justice in place, definitely certain things must be, from this point, certain things will be done in a different way. Actually, of course, to the expectation of the people. So I think that is being taken care of. And now,
you have a disciplinary committee within the PF?
Of course, we have a disciplinary committee, but as you know, the powers that be, the president himself has got powers to hire and fire. You can't question that, okay? He picked on Winter. At the time we picked him, there was definitely going to be a time when Winter was going to be dropped. So if it's within the president to do that, I think who are we to question that? He has done it. And as long as it is in the interest of the party, it's in the interest of the general public, this is why we are here. We believe the president did the right thing. And I've seen a lot of these other, like this daily tabloid. I don't know whether I should even make mention of the name.
Well, I don't know.
The Post, should I say. Its editorials, headlines, and whatever, trying to demonize the decision that the president has taken in removing or dropping Winter. I think that is very, very wrong by Fred Membe and the Post in general. That is very, very wrong, because how many people have been fired and Fred has been quiet all along? How many people have been dropped and Fred hasn't come to the rescue of these people? But this time around, because I don't know whether Fred used to chew with Winter, and in his editorials even goes ahead and says, now contracts will be shared among who? So now you are opening up people's minds to say, oh, so there was some sharing of some contracts somewhere between Fred and Winter. This is why the money seems to be so bitter this time around that the president has touched his own. We understand this cartel. We know how they operate. And none of these accusations or whatever ways that he can use this time around will actually demonize the president. The president has and is enjoying the support of the majority Zambians. And even the Zambians people can be able to judge who is wrong and who is right. And in this case, whatever picture, whatever they are saying now, the president has dropped the right person and is now being surrounded by corrupt MPs and ministers or whatever names that is mentioning. Which corrupt ministers? If he's got such a record, if he's got a list of such corrupt people, then let him report to the police. Simple as that, than demonizing the president. And this is something that we will not accept. This is something that we will not tolerate by either Fred Membe or the Post.
Okay, Mr. Chancellor,
you cannot demonize the president this time around because of dropping one person who probably must have been a beneficiary. No, we will not tolerate this. The president has got confidence with people surrounding him and the people that has remained in PF, and he knows they will deliver as a team, or will deliver as a team. So, Fred, watch out, will not tolerate this. And if you persist, please pay back the DBZ loan, or else maybe we will go to an extent.
I think we are not discussing Mr. Membe here. Just clarification: we are not discussing Mr. Membe. I think he's got the right, and of course they run.
Yeah, but in the right way.
Yeah, but. He's not here also to defend himself. So really, I will not allow a kind of situation where you put certain people in such a corner because they are not here to defend themselves. But however, we are not discussing Mr. Membe because they also have their own right to run their affairs.
I think I can chip in.
Very briefly, because I'm being told we've got 10 minutes, so we can allow some more callers.
Yeah, I think I can chip in a little bit. Madam, Mr. Musanje, he has talked about the Constitution. Yeah, I think this is our main cry. If some of us, you know, the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, they have made it now as a countrywide campaign to demonstrate over the same thing. If you cast your mind back, I make mention, because I was being used as a youth spokesperson. We had to put all the things right. Even the youth, within the same party, we are demanding for the Constitution, that if the technical committee have represented the Constitution to the Ministry of Justice, what technicalities did they use? If the President appoint people to preside over the committee, they need to take over from the appointing authority. Now it's like a paradigm shift. Instead of the President, it's the permanent the permanent secretary and of Minister of Justice and the Minister of Justice who received that document. Now it's like that document, we don't know what happened. We say it as a party, is this Constitution, why has it taken long to be tabled in the cabinet?
So even you as officials, you also want this Constitution to be given?
You know what? The Constitution is there already, you know? Now it needs amendments. Those people, when they are saying Constitution is a very complex document. The problem which they are making, they are not coming out so strongly to explain about the articles, to say article number 10, we are not comfortable with it, we need this. Now it's just like a constitution. The president is there because we have got a sitting constitution. We wouldn't have even MPs like the MPs from oppositions if we had no constitution.
Mr. Komaka, I don't want to go too much into detail with the constitution, because this is another discussion for another day. I think for the constitution, let's leave it there.
About the promises which Mr. Musanja said, the promises are underway. I can at least assure Mr. Musanja that with the able leadership of His Excellence, he has got a driving seat. He doesn't want to be driven. That's why we have seen this massive development in terms of road infrastructure. We are building schools, we are building hospitals, we are building even clinics. 650 clinics for that matter. Because as a government, we thought we are too congested. That's why as a government, we have embarked on decentralization policy. Why are we doing that? We want to decongest the city so that the jobs, where we are creating new districts, we are creating even job opportunities, because believe me or not, each and every district we create, it's like the whole governmental departments are supposed to be there. So it's like, what does it imply? We are creating job opportunities. That's why I'm saying, give it enough time, because we have been mandated by the Zambian people to say they gave us power, the mandate for 5 years. We are in social contract.
Okay, Mr. Komaka, hold on. Director, I know you've already cut the line, but please allow me to pick just maybe 2 or 3 calls. We'll close the discussion after that, please. Good evening. Hello. Hello, good evening. Let's try another line. Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, thank you.
Thank you. This is Francis Mumbi.
Mr. Mumbi, please be brief. We are in the time minutes.
Very brief. The gentleman in the studio, I thank you for coming and addressing 1 or 2 issues. That's the way to go. You explain the policies of the party, and you are the people who should be in the forefront driving the president's agenda of taking this country forward. So the way you've come is a good thing, and I want to encourage you, Kalan, to say, next time, bring back Liswaniso and Samuel Wira together with those 2 gentlemen. Then we see how they can debate, for the UPND and the opposition. Bring those 2. We need such a program where these 2 very good PS members, my party members, are there together with the Swanese. So that way, we'll see what democracy means. They will say what SATA has done, because there are some people who say SATA has totally done nothing. Meanwhile, we do see what SATA has done. So it's very, very important now. When those other people say, no, he has done nothing, these two gentlemen will be able to defend, to say, no, this is what SATA has done. Because, you know, we live in a world where others will see a color green to be red. When a color, you know, that kind of a thing. It's very, very important. So for democracy, I'm happy, Komaki, the way you've done things, you know, you're trying to do things. All you should do is put it to your heart. There are some good things that Winter Kavimba did whilst he was Secretary General. At the end of the day, I think all of you try to, within your hearts, we are all Christians, forgive him whatever he has done, and then let him start afresh with his life. But at the end of the day, be watchful of all other members, even others who are coming to join right now, those who've got a hidden agenda, trying to do things behind the president's back, and those members, other members within the party's back, you make sure you flush out such people openly and in a democratic way. It's very, very important, because President Sata needs the support of all of us, and he still has a term to go. Within one term, it's very difficult to finish up all the developmental projects, but if we give him another mandate, at the end of the day, we'll reach the promised land. And as I conclude, a journey of 10,000 kilometers starts with one state. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mumbi, before you leave, last time I said we'll need to meet one of these fine days, and you never got back to me.
Okay. How do I get to you?
Okay, you can come to Prime Television.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All
and
right.
there, please, you can just come, or you can drop your number. I'll get in touch with you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I think let's end with a cause there. Sorry to all those that were trying to reach us, but I think we have to move. It's been a marathon of a program. Your concluding remarks.
Well, my concluding remarks would be another praise for my president, Michael Chirufya-Sata, for the bold decision that he made. Of course, everything has got time, and time came that the president had to make a decision in the interest of all of us. And also to congratulate our new Justice Minister, and who is also our Secretary General, whom we have all the confidence as youth that the party now will be reorganized, and that 2016, it's a walkover, because now the party will have direction. And to all my fellow youth that we had done demos with, Akawawawa, and all the support, even people that didn't understand, but there comes a time when things have to happen in a certain way.
All right.
So keep up the spirit, Zambians, keep up the spirit, PF members, and join in masses. PF is wide open.
Are you ready for a debate on national issues with anybody from the opposition? Let's say UPND, FDD, or...
Very, very much ready, anytime, any place, anywhere, because the president has delivered.
Okay, thank you so much. So probably one of these fine days I'll be calling you for another show. Mr. Komaki.
Yes. First and foremost, I would like to recommend you. It's a rare privilege and honor to be here and highlight some certain developmental issues which are happening in the nation. I know we are human beings, error is human, but you need to show remorse once you are wrong. People will forgive you definitely. Not when you know that you are wrong, you still show arrogance. It brings a problem. What has happened is just an eye-opener for those leaders who are representing the president now. Let them not be there in the offices to disappoint. Never outshine your master, mind you. You should work according to the expectations of the people and according to the expectation of the appointing authority. What has happened to Honorable Winter should send a strongest signal to even ministers and the remaining cartel who are there. We are still watching.
Of course.
Winter is not alone.
Of course.
We have taken note of them, and we are there. We are there to show them, to expose them the way we have exposed the Winter. So let them change in the interest of peace and harmony in the party. Let them change so that we start working together in the line so that we can deliver the promises which we made to the Zambian people.
I'll ask the same question. Are you ready to come on the set again next time with another team?
My brother, that issue, even in Will, I know is watching me. We have been in the certain fora. Last I think 3 months ago, we were at the same sharing platform. We said, in the interest of democracy, I was invited at Millennium Radio, where I was with the ADD and the UPND. We started articulating issues. I started pinpointing the development which
perfect.
PF has done so far, which
I've already extended.
I can't even regret to be in PF.
I've extended an invitation already.
Thanks
so when
much.
I call on you, I don't want you to be disappointed.
No,
because I'm preparing for another show.
You know, time of Akawawa is over now. Now it's time now to sell the party now.
All right, Zambia, this is where we have to come to the end of this program. It's been an exciting show. Sorry to those that we did not pick your lines. Indeed, I know most of you are trying to reach us, but hey, we cannot manage to get all the calls. But to everyone who participated through watching and so forth and so on, thank you so much. To my guest, Mr. Sewila, former PF Lusaka District Vice Secretary, thank you so much. Mr. Julius Komaki, former PF Lusaka District Vice Chairman, we are humbled with your presence in the studio.
The humble is mine. Thank
all right. To my colleagues around here, thank you so much for the hard work. Keep up with the same spirit. Make sure you make a date with us again next week at the same time for yet another exciting edition. The topic that we are looking at today is the removal of Winter Kavimba, the solution to the PF's infighting. We leave it there. Good night.
Potato sticks, freaky fries. Get that awesome crunch.
Are you a model and you want to explore your modeling career? This